Hello, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and in this video, I'm going to give you some really key basic fundamentals I want you to look for when you go out and film yourself hitting forehands and backhands. Now, I've got the Topspin Pro, actually I got two of them here to help me demonstrate this technique. You got to get one of these if there's an upcoming birthday or holiday, or you need a gift for that tennis lover in your family, or if that person is you, you got to get a Topspin Pro. I am an affiliate. You can check out the affiliate link in the description below. I'll even pin it in the first comment. So it's so important that you film yourself hitting tennis balls and you then know what to look for when you look at that footage. Let's talk about the forehand first. When you take the racket back on the forehand, take it back with both hands. Don't think that tennis is just this one-armed sport. It's not. You want to think of hitting the ball with your body, not just your arm. So you want to take the racket back, and no better way to take it back than with two hands. You'll notice my armpits are kind of exposed, my elbows are out. You don't want your elbows in. That's typically when the swing can get too big and can start to really get on the wrong side of your body. So you want to take the racket back with your back elbow up. So when you film yourself and you look at your forehand, check to see that you're turning with both hands. You can see that my non-hitting hand is on the throat of the racket and my back elbow is up. Then when I drop the racket, I'm going to drop down with my body, right? So I don't want to just think of the drop as being from my arm, but I'm going to help assist the racket get below the ball so I can hit topspin by dropping my body along with the arm. Now, when I do this, you'll notice that my strings are closed. This being on edge, this is closed. Closed means strings facing down. This is really important. Make sure you're doing this. And if you're not doing it, then just manually turn your palm down toward the ground as you drop the racket. The reason this is so important is this is what allows your strings to face forward towards your target when you strike the ball. If you're someone, when you hit the ball tends to pop up, or you feel like you're kind of having to roll over the ball for topspin, but it just doesn't work, it's because your racket's straight up and down in the back. So close your racket face, and then when you rotate your body and you come up, remember, you dropped down. So then when you come up to strike the ball, now your strings will face forward. Now, talking about the contact, when you're striking the ball, notice you can see my non-hitting hand, my left hand, up over my left shoulder. It's such a common mistake I see amateur players, recreational players make, that this non-hitting arm drops. If you've ever felt on your forehand like you hug yourself, this is why. It's because your non-hitting arm is dropping. When you turn with both hands, when you let go at the top as you begin to drop, the non-hitting hand should start to clear out of the way because your hips are going to rotate to bring the racket to the ball. Well, that non-hitting hand should actually rise as you're hitting the ball. And the non-hitting hand will actually be visible to the camera when you film yourself from the back at contact. Now that hand is up, and you can actually swing up to that hand, catching the racket in that hand to ensure that your racket was swinging up. So let me show you what that looks like when I'm practicing, or when you're practicing on the Topspin Pro. So you turn with both hands, drop and close the racket, contact point, non-hitting hand is visible to the camera. I'm brushing, I'm spinning the ball. You can see the ball spinning. That's the beauty of the Topspin Pro. You know that you're doing it correctly because you're making the ball spin. And that is what the Topspin forehand should look like. All right, here's my other lovely assistant for the backhand. Let's go over the two-hander. So the two-hander, you're going to change your grip. Right, so we're going real basics here. The bottom hand is going to turn to a continental grip. My elbows are out. Remember, the elbows were out on the forehand, so now the elbows are also going to be out on the backhand. You want this back elbow up for the same reason we wanted it up on the forehand, so the swing doesn't get too big. It also helps keep the racket vertical, which makes it easier to close the racket. It's the same idea. When I turn on the backhand, I take the racket back 180 degrees with the tip of the racket up. I've already changed my grip, and the grip change is actually hidden in the turn. So I'm changing my grip, but it's hard to see because I'm doing it while I take my racket back. So you don't want to think change the grip and then take it back. You don't want to think take it back and then change the grip. You hide the grip change in the backswing. Back elbows up so my racket stays vertical. And one thing, when you turn for that backhand, you should turn to a place where if you faced the other way, if you face behind you, you're in the ready position again. The backswing is 180 degrees. So I'm here, elbows out, I turn, and now if I just face the camera, I'm in a ready position again. All right, so here's My turn again, my back elbow's up, and now it's exactly like the forehand. We drop, this is for the two-hander. We drop down and we should close the racket face. I'm also gonna drop my body down to help me get below the ball. Racket face is closed, I then rotate and I come up as I hit the ball and I keep brushing, I go up nice and high and then a relaxed finish. So this is what it should look like when you're practicing, whether you're on court or you're like I am, in your driveway, practicing your ground strokes. All right, so let me now do the one-handed backhand. The one-handed backhand, you're gonna change your grip farther than the two-hander. You're gonna turn the hand all the way on the very top of the racket. So when you're hitting the ball and your strings are facing forward, your palm is facing directly down. It's called the Eastern backhand grip. Similar to the one-hander on the turn, sorry, the two-hander, on the turn, this arm is going to be extended and it's going to be pulled in. I don't want it away from you. I want it pulled in. Back elbow is up. What we don't want is this elbow to drop and then the racket goes wide open. I know you look at a lot of the pros, you look at James Blake. I can think about James Blake. I loved his game. When I was younger, I really enjoyed watching him, former top 5 player in the world. His forehand, by the way, was just absolutely like, it was like a missile. It was unbelievable. But when he turned on that backhand, he would turn like this. Now, I'm not telling you he's wrong. What I am saying is when you turn like this, there's a lot of calculation that has to then occur before contact. If you turn and keep your racket more vertical by keeping this elbow up rather than dropping it, then it just makes it easier to close the racket and then brush up the back of the ball. So try when you turn on your one-hander and you turn that grip and your hitting arm is extended, that back elbow stays up so your strings are facing off to the side, then you're ready for the drop. Now when you drop, it's really important that you drop with both hands. Many players have this idea that the one-handed backhand is one-handed, and that makes sense because you're hitting the ball with one hand. But I want you to have it in your mind that the one-handed backhand is two-handed more than you think, that there's two hands on the racket for a much longer period of time. So one thing I ask my students to do is to take the back of their knuckles in their throat hand, right? So for me, it's my left hand, to take the back of your knuckles and touch your back knee. So I'm actually touching, I actually removed my hitting hand off the racket, and I'm just gonna drop with both hands, touching my hand to my knee. Notice my racket closes. That's gonna help my racket be square against the back of the ball, but I'm gonna turn and drop with both hands. If the non-hitting hand lets go too early, you'll tend to open up way too much, you'll get a lot of side spin, and it just won't be as accurate as if you drop with both hands. Now, once you drop and your hand gets to this knee, that's when you'll let go, then your hands go apart. You wanna keep your chest to the side. This is the way I teach the finish. It's the Vic Braden finish, the left side of the letter V, right? It's like I have a letter V here, but my racket is the left side of it. That keeps my wrist angle intact. I know you'll see Gasquet and Dimitrov and their rackets all the way over here. I get that, but for amateur players, recreational players who search YouTube and are looking for ways to improve their one-handed backhand, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this type of finish where the racket's way over here. If the ball is a little high, it can go a little cross this way. But for any low and medium ball, you've got to go vertically, keeping the racket to the left side of your hand. Because we kept that left hand on so long, we then get to separate our hands when we hit the ball, keeping the body sideways. So the one-handed backhand looks like this. So now I'm gonna hit topspin forehand, two-handed backhand, one-handed backhand. I'll do a series of them. Just start to look for what we just talked about. Ooh, two-hander, I almost forgot. Two-hander. This is such a great tool, Topspin Pro. I mean, it's amazing. If you're a tennis club owner, if you're a tennis pro, you need to get Topspin Pros. For your members, you can teach lessons with this, get a group of people. Yep, you have 6 people on a court, 3 in the front. You're feeding balls to the 3 people in the front, people in back. They're not just standing still. You have 3 Topspin Pros in the back, and they're all practicing what you just taught them for, 3, 4, 5 shots, and then they switch. For a group dynamic standpoint, for tennis coaches and tennis clubs, Topspin Pro is an absolute must. Again, check out my affiliate link in the description below. I want you to understand what you should be looking for when you film yourself. When you go out and you study your technique, know what to look for. Look for the turn, look for the drop, look for the contact, look for the finish. When you know what to look for and what to correct about your forehand and backhand, there is no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.